Hi, parents and guardians, and welcome to ninth grade Honors Environmental Science. I'm Dr. Christine Cocozza, and I will be instructing your students for the 2020-2021 school year. Hopefully, we'll eventually end up back in room A113. That's my brick and mortar classroom, but right now I'm coming to you from my dining room. Wanted to tell you a little bit about my educational background. I did my undergrad at the University of Pittsburgh. I did my master's at Chatham University, also in Pittsburgh, and then I got my PhD in gifted education from Immaculata University in 2014. I also do some adjunct teaching for Immaculata University, and I have been with Methacton for more than 14 years. In 2017 to 2018, I took a sabbatical. And you can find more information on that, as well as all kinds of work that your students will be working on parachutingbeaver.com. And then the Methacton portion of that is parachutingbeaver.com/Methacton. And you can find both my biology course and my honors environmental course there. During my sabbatical, which was really the best professional development I've ever done, I lived in the van that you can see there, drove to 2 countries, visited more than 150 national parks, monuments, BLM land. It was absolutely amazing. And it gave me an even deeper love and understanding for environmental concerns, not just in the United States, but in our neighboring countries as well. I say to the students that if you don't dream it, you'll never do it. And so I shared my bucket list with them, and I'm going to share it with you briefly too. Because if students don't dream big and have this goal hanging out there, then how are they ever going to achieve it? And so hopefully in my class, they'll learn the environmental science, but I'm hoping that they'll also learn how to make priorities and how to reach goals. I want to go to outer space. I say to them that they're the generation who's going to go to Mars. You know, NASA said that the students who are in high school are the ones that are going to be the first ones to get there. And so if that's something that they're interested in, that's a job that doesn't even exist yet, but is going to when they're ready for work. Visit every country at least once. I'm at 45 or 46 right now. And so culture is really important to me. Meeting people where they are, knowing about where they come from, helps me to connect with students on a deeper level. Speak 3 languages. There are things that I'm good at teaching. There are things that I'm not so good at. I'm a terrible speller, and I find languages or acquiring new languages extremely challenging. So right now I'm working on Spanish and French and Hindi. Climb Denali. I love the outdoors. I love the challenge, and Denali will be my magnum opus, the most difficult climb that I think I'm capable of. I'd like to walk 100,000 miles. I hike pretty much every summer. In a minute, you're going to see me at or actually the first slide, you saw me at the end of the Appalachian Trail. I'm through hiked on that. I'm working on the Continental Divide Trail. I'm up to Denver, Colorado from the Mexican border. And I'm also working on the Pacific Crest Trail. I've walked from Mexico to LA there. So someday, I believe that I will have walked 100,000 miles before I die. I'd like to volunteer at the Golden Temple. That is a Sikh temple in India, and they feed the largest number of homeless people of any organization in the world. And it would be my privilege, hopefully, to volunteer with them. I'd like to give a TED Talk. And the reason I want to give a TED Talk is that it keeps me focused on what I can do more professionally, keeping really on the cutting edge of teaching techniques, because someday, if I can come up with, a really unique way to help students meet their own educational goals, that means that I have, I've held up my end of the bargain. I've worked really hard to make sure that I have the newest technology relating to education, thereby them getting the best education possible. And when I give my TED Talk, it's going to be so amazing that Google's going to do an educational Google Doodle of my idea. Contact information. Email is the best way. I really stare at my email all day and even in the evening, so I will try to get back to you as soon as humanly possible. Please reach out to me with any concerns that you might have regarding your student success. Here's just a little idea about what your student will experience this year. Just a rough idea of the units. Obviously, so much more information and detail goes into each of these, but this is a big, broad topic list. Work. This is what it would be in a normal time. Right now, I'm cutting the homework to somewhere around 0. Um, there won't be any formal tests until we're back in brick and mortar, but there will be small quizzes, um, labs, and then really instead of tests, I'm trying to do major projects so that the students, you know, get to work together and get to demonstrate their learning in a way that is not tests, because let's be honest, online testing is not necessarily the best way to assess what a student has knows and has learned. Current events. I don't just want to teach your child the very basics of environmental science. I want to teach them how to think about the world around them. And that means that they have to be able to evaluate what they're hearing in the news. And so since so much of what I teach in environmental science, I'm pulling from what's happening right now. So for example, I talk about the wildfires that are going on in Oregon and California because that's what's going on right now. Sometimes when you look at textbooks, they speak about things like the Exxon Valdez, like it just happened. My students weren't even born when the Exxon Valdez ran into Alaska. So that's not the kind of stuff that I want to be talking about. And when I ask them to go online and I ask them to look up current events, I want to make sure that they know that when you're looking at the news, you have to understand what that news organization, what their political bent is, so that you know what kind of an audience are they shooting towards. Being left, being right, being center, it's not that one's good and one's bad. It's just information. It's knowing where are those reporters coming from. So hopefully I will teach your students not only the nuts and bolts in environmental science, but also how to evaluate the science that they're seeing in the news around them. How to succeed in science this year. Where it says come for help before or after school, I am totally available for your son or daughter. If we were in brick and mortar, I come in every day at 6 a.m. And so I am happy to be available for your child virtually early. I typically stay after school. Usually I do library duty, so usually I have a more than an hour, a couple of days a week that I can help your child. Please just tell them to reach out and make an appointment with me, and I'll make sure that I'm there for them. Note taking, we went over that in class. Just making sure that your student is taking this virtual time as seriously as they would be taking brick and mortar time. And then doing your homework, and when we get back to school, considering doing extra credit. The future. This is up online in the program planning guide. I'm not going to go over it because I'm sure that you and your students can read the information, but just know that there are math and science components as your child moves forward, and I want to make sure that your child meets their own science goals, and these are the requirements for them. Rules to live by. They're really simple. Be polite, be safe, be prepared, be prompt, show personal responsibility. I will work unbelievably hard to meet your child wherever they are, and all I ask in return is that they help me help them. I look forward to a really great year, virtually at first, and then brick and mortar after that. If there's ever anything that I can do for you or your child, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a happy rest of your night, and I look forward to seeing your students bright and early tomorrow.